Prompt engineering is such an important topic. We're all going to have to learn how to write prompts effectively. Even if we don't outsource our work to AI, we are going to use AI as a sidekick to produce better results, to be more successful and effective. This is going to be kind of like Googling effectively. It's going to be a must. And Salesforce is no exception. Salesforce offers two different ways you can leverage AI solutions right now, in a nutshell. You can use the prompt templates in Prompt Builder, and you can also use the Agentforce Agent Builder. I'm going to show you in this video how you can leverage the Prompt Builder to generate preparation meeting notes for your next client meeting. Your prompt template can look at the past data that you have for the client, the contact field values, and mesh that up with your processes and produce preparation notes, the outline for your next meeting with your client. And you can actually do this in two ways. You can either generate a field value using your prompt template and save the preparation notes into a field on the record, or you can create a flex prompt template and call that via an action from Agentforce in your internal Agentforce implementation. And that way you can ask Agentforce to prepare a preparation meeting note for you, and that will be carried out for you right within your Agentforce panel. Without further ado, let's dive into the video. Let me show you how we get to our prompts here in Salesforce. You go to Setup, and then you start typing prompt here, and then that'll take you to Prompt Builder. So essentially, Prompt Builder produces prompt templates, and the prompt templates are the recipes that you use for your users to send information to the large language model and back, right? You know how you open a window with ChatGPT and you start typing freely? Instead of doing that, you can use a prompt template that will bring together that prompt that will be sent to whatever LLM you're using. It'll put kind of a predefined script together with data, and it'll send it to the LLM and get a response for you. And if you're doing this within Salesforce, you have also the trust layer benefit. You know, the data that you send to LLM will be masked, and you can decide which LLM to use as well. Now here I created two different prompt templates. We're going to start with the field generation one. Let me just show you how you create one first of all. Now, if you want to create a new prompt template, you go here, you choose new prompt template, and then you are going to have multiple choices here. Now, before we dive further into this video, let me just tell you, this is already a very detailed and long blog post on salesforcebreak.com. So if you go there, you are going to see the explanations and details that actually go along with this video. You don't really have to take notes. I'm going to give you even the full content of my prompts in a code block. You can just copy and paste it. So for this one, for this video, we are going to use the field generation and flex. So if you click on field generation, you have the regular inputs like prompt template name, yada yada, template description, and you choose an object. For this demo, I created a very simple business model. I have a coaching session object that's related to the contact object for the client. And that has a status field on it. I can schedule one along with the start date and time that I have on this record. And if I change the status to completed, that means that session obviously has been completed. It's not a scheduled session anymore. So that will be recorded in that object record. Now, when I say coaching session, the dialog asks me, which field do I want to use for my field generation? I can choose either a rich text field or a text field here, and I have a title text field, I have preparation notes and session notes rich text fields, and I'm going to build one on the preparation notes one. So this is the field that's going to get that magic button that you can use to generate the content. The AI will generate the content for you, propose it, and then you can, if you want, you can edit it and you can save it in that field, right? So once you do all that, you are going to go to the prompt builder interface, and that's right here. So it's going to look like this. Obviously, this will not be built out yet, right? So what you really want to do here is you want to start with your job is to, right? You want to tell what the job is to the large language model. This is what's going to be sent to the model. So your job is to provide a note and guidance for the coach on what they need to know for an upcoming coaching session. So this is a personalized coaching service that can provide a career, personal, and general coaching services. So they meet with their clients periodically, and they are going to talk to them about their challenges and then make recommendations on how they can improve their life, right? You know, that's what this is. And we have some fields like interests, birth date, and the subscription type. All that stuff is on the contact record for the client. And we have also additional information that we can keep on the coaching session record that's related to the contact record. So once we tell what the job is to the LLM, then we are going to also define the context. And here we want to obviously ground with data. And we put client name, colon, and then, you know, here you want to actually pick this input from your input picker here. We obviously have access to all the coaching session field values in this picker, so we can input those here. So we input the client name, birth date, and client next scheduled session is going to be picked up from the related contact. We can traverse to parent field values. That's what that is. And the next scheduled session date is actually going to be stamped using a record triggered flow whenever a new coaching session is created in scheduled status value. So, you know, it's going to take that start date and time and it's going to put that on the contact saying, okay, this is the next session date and time. And here we are going to have the client subscriber type, client interest areas. And here we want to provide information about the recent coaching sessions. Now, here is what I have found. You can actually include related records here, and you can traverse in your resource picker to the related records and put them into your prompt template. But that does not mean Salesforce is going to summarize in a meaningful way those related records and put them into your prompt. So maybe you can get a count and you know that there are related records or something. Very simple things can be done with it. But if you really want a summary of the related records, the best way you can do that is via flow. So I created a flow that looks through all the completed past coaching session records and then takes those meaningful field values and pastes them into the prompt here for me. So it says here it's going to receive a response from this flow, data from this flow, and the coaching sessions will be separated by 3 dash characters, right? So there could be multiple. And you'll see here in the flow resource picker that there is an active flow that I can use and leverage. You need a template triggered flow for this. And in my experience, it's been a little bit tricky to try to make that flow visible here in this resource picker. It takes a little bit of fiddling. I think there is a bug currently that affects that. It's going to be fixed soon, but that's all explained in the blog post as well. And then you want to explain to your large language model what some of the field values mean. Like, for example, here I have an is subscriber checkbox. I need to tell the LLM if that's true, that means that they are a subscriber. If that's false, that means that they are not a subscriber. And I have type of subscription that can have a value, career, personal, or general, and I need to define what those are. LLM is not going to know what that means. And I define also how long the session is going to be, depending on whether this is going to be their first session or follow-up sessions, one of their follow-up sessions. And here I explain as well what that exactly means, right? And also here is a definition of how they are going to get a discount if their birthday is within 30 days of their session, right? So that will be also determined based on the birth date field value on the contact record. And next, what you want to do is you want to define how you want the response to be structured. And this is the type of stuff that you can actually use and reuse, right? You can copy and paste this to a text editor, save it. You can make a document, and you can reuse it for your other prompt templates in the future. You can define whether you want a rich text response, whether you want HTML tags in it, like bold colors. And you can also tell the LLM you want separators, line breaks, that kind of stuff, right? So that's the format of the response that you're expecting. Now, when you do this, you want to also test it right within this panel. And the way you're going to do that is this field generation template only needs the record that the field is on. And in this case, we are going to need actually a coaching session record. You want to create that record up front, or you want to just go to your other tab and create a record and come back here if you want to test it. So the name for those records here in this org, they are starting with CS dash. So I've just typed C and it's going to give me a couple of options. I'm using one of them. You want to pick a language, and now you can hit preview. And when you do that, on the left side, you are going to see the resolution. Resolution is what is being sent to the LLM, right? So all this data is going to be put together, and that's going to be sent to the LLM. Because the trust layer is on, you're going to see some of the data is going to be masked here, right? So you see the client's name is masked, the birth date is here, next scheduled date is here. And here between these dash characters, you are going to see the past data. Here is one completed past coaching session details, title, coaching session, preparation notes, prepare the client for upcoming meetings, yada, 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 status completed. There was actually only one past completed session for this client. So this is a follow-up session. And all this information is going to be sent to the LLM. Here on the right side, we are going to see what comes back from the LLM. So client's name, Ashley James, all that information comes back here again. You'll see I asked for HTML tags and rich text. That's why I see these tags here. Session type follow-up. Because this is not the first session, the session type is correctly defined as follow-up session, and the duration is going to be 1 hour for a follow-up session. Key points to address: discuss clients' progress since the last session, explore their interest in pickleball and debate club, review their objective of becoming a CEO. This all comes from the past data and their interests on the contact record. Encourage the client's interest in bridge and chess as additional activities. Support client in preparing for the upcoming meetings. I actually was wrong about the discount. When the client's birthday is within 30 days of the next session, then you give them a free digital book. That was a promotion. So, and that's also identified here and then given as a recommendation to the coach before they go to the meeting. So let's look at the flow. If you want to create a template triggered flow, you'll go to new flow. You'll start from scratch and then choose template triggered prompt flow, right? So this is the flow type you will need for this. And if you go in here, you're going to see you need to configure the start element. You can use automatic inputs and choose field generation template capability and point this to the object, the coaching session object. So that's how you'll build one. But let me show you the one I built that's being used. It's not a very difficult flow, but it's a flow that will need to loop, because what you're going to do is you're going to get all the past completed coaching session records, right? Get the coaching session records where the contact is the same as the triggering coaching session record and the status needs to be completed. There could be multiple or none, right? Then you loop through them. And we have this element called add to prompt element. And this element adds to the prompt a string that you define in it. And that could include data, right? So every time the loop is run here, you're going to add something else to the prompt if you have multiple records. And what that says is here's one completed past coaching session. You'll see it's separated by the 3 dashes, title, preparation notes. I'm passing the preparation notes for that record. The session notes as well. If the coach filled out the session notes after or during the session, in addition to the preparation notes, then that's going to be passed as well to the LLM. Duration in hours and the status of that meeting. The one thing I noticed here when I was working with this, because there could be 0 records potentially, you want to also add here another add to prompt outside the loop that says there are no other completed coaching sessions found for this client. And if you don't find any records, this is the only thing that's going to be sent out. And in my experience, that was sufficient for the LLM to understand that there's no data. Before I put this on here, it was confusing for the LLM. That's been my experience. And you're going to save this flow, activate this flow, and once you do all that, you should be able to see this as a resource inside your prompt template, which could get tricky. Like I said, you may have to go back and forth, activate, deactivate, save again. I honestly didn't understand what was stopping me from seeing the resource, but I did lose some time there when I was building this. All right, so this is going to give a good summary of the past coaching sessions, add the data to the prompt, and pass that to your prompt template, right? So that's how that's done. And let's see how we can use this, leverage this in the UI. Let me just go to the coaching session tab and look at one of the records. So on this record, we have the coaching session name, a title for it, the contact, the start date and time, duration can be filled out, and you'll see the preparation notes here, right? So that has been generated before. And you have session notes here, status, and that's about it. Now, before I go into using it and demoing it, I want to also tell you, once you create your prompt template, you need to put this on your layout here. And you need to do that by going to your page layout editor for Lightning Pages. You have to have dynamic forms activated. And once you have dynamic forms activated, you can go to the preparation notes field, and on the right panel, you can indicate that you want to use Einstein Generative AI and have your field point to the prompt template here. Right? Once you do that, you're going to see this little Einstein logo head right next to the field. Save and activate everything, and you should be able to see this right here. This also will be shown on your page layout. And if you go to edit mode, that kind of becomes a big button on the side. So this is going to help you generate the data. But for that, I want to show you this. Let me create another record for Ashley James. Let me see whether this is completed already. Status is scheduled. Let's make that completed. This record is completed. We're going to create another record for Ashley James. And let's call this one follow-up associated with Ashley. And the date should be tomorrow at noon. Duration, I'm just going to leave out for now. And here, status is going to be scheduled. Let me just save this for now, because this is going to stamp the next scheduled date on the contact record for Ashley James. That's going to show now 4/11, 12 noon. And let me go back into edit and generate the field value here. And that's going to open the Einstein panel on the right side. And Einstein came up with this content. So I'm going to say I want to use this. That's going to be pasted to the left side. There could be some quirks about formatting. You may want to delete a couple of empty lines. I don't really understand why it's creating this numbering format. It shouldn't. We didn't really ask for numbering here, but that's fine. Let me clean this up. Shows okay. And we can edit this, check this for accuracy, edit it, finalize it, and then save it. All right, so now we can see the client name shows up, and this is the recommendation that Einstein came up with. Dear coach, for the upcoming coaching session with Ashley James, here are some key points to consider. Talk about pickleball, personal interests, discuss progress, emphasize the importance of a well-rounded approach for personal growth, and all that good stuff, right? And obviously, if you don't like the output, you can generate a couple of times and see whether you see a better answer. Let me show you also how this can be done using a Flex template, right? Going on from the same example, I created another prompt template, which is a Flex prompt template. The main difference between the field generation and Flex is more powerful and, as the name suggests, more flexible. It can be used for multiple purposes. Now I'm going to say new prompt template, and this time choose Flex. This is how you create a new one. And here you'll see Flex allows me to define 5 sources. Remember, the field generation can only see the current record that the field is going to be on. Obviously, you can traverse to the parent records, whatever, but that's generally it. Here, I can define 5 different sources. And these sources can be objects. They don't have to be related, right? As long as I point it to a record and Agentforce knows which record to go to, then you can have multiple object record inputs here. It can be free text. It can be data model object for Data Cloud. And you'll define all your inputs here. You'll obviously define what the object is once you choose object. remember, once you pick your inputs here, you cannot really change them. I mean, that's the current status of how Prompt Builder works. That's going to change in the future, hopefully. But if you need to make changes to your inputs, you're going to have to create another one, right? So another prompt template. That's why what you want to do here is you probably want to be a little bit generous, on the generous side in terms of creating inputs. I would recommend, for example, always include a free text input. You don't really have to use it. You can just pass blank into it if you don't use it. That'll allow you to pass additional instructions to the LLM when you need to. So I built one already, and this is the Flex one. And the instructions are going to be very similar. The main difference here is I chose multiple inputs. I have the coaching session record ID, I have the client record ID, which is the contact ID, and I have a free text input here. So if I go to test the inputs here, I'm going to see three inputs: client ID variable, coaching session ID variable, free text variable. Now, do I need to pass in a client ID if I pass in a coaching session ID? I mean, if these records are associated, I don't really have to. I can traverse from one to another, but this will give me flexibility. I could actually generate a preparation meeting note even if I don't have a coaching session record for the client yet, because I have interests on the contact record. I have the birth date and subscription type and that kind of stuff. So I can use either or. They don't have to be required. I think they are required right now, but they don't really have to be required. I can build my logic that way. I can still work with that. And then I can add additional instructions into this free text variable. So let's try it. Let's pick Ashley James. That's the client ID. And coaching session is going to be, it's CS7. And in free text, I want to also add that the client is interested in longer vacation times, potentially interested in taking some time off from work, right? And I can test this here. I can preview. Once I hit preview, I'm going to see on the left side what's being passed to the LLM. All this information from the contact record is being passed. Now I can see there are multiple past completed sessions, coaching sessions, that I have data for. 1, 2. 2 records have been passed. And also the free form here, the free text is being passed here. So it says if there are additional notes, they will be passed in input free text variable, right? And this is how the response came in. So what it says is guidance for upcoming coaching session, all that information about the client, discuss how participation in pickleball and debate club aligns with career goals, encourage reflection on balancing personal interests with objectives, emphasize the importance of a well-rounded approach. This is very similar to the field generation one. And monthly check and review progress. The client is interested in longer vacation times and potentially taking time off from work. Consider these aspects during the session. So that free text input I have added, incorporated here, that also became part of this. Now here your flow input is similar. I found that I can use actually the same flow for this. I see actually 2 different ones. I had created also another one that was not really made for field generation. It's made more for a Flex template that I can see that one here as well. So I can see 2 different resources. You can build the Flex template flows a little bit differently, right? Ideally, they recommend that your inputs for your flow should be the same exact inputs with the same exact names that you see here for your template. If that's the case, once you save and activate, they should be available here as well. What can you do with this? I mean, I'm going to show you this part of the functionality in a separate video. You can actually use this prompt template in your Agentforce implementation. You can make this an Agentforce action, assign it to a topic, and then once the user is asking for this functionality, the reasoning engine will be able to associate the topic with the request and then call the action and get the response and present the response to the user. So the user, the coach, wouldn't have to go to the record to do this. They could do this anywhere inside Salesforce and start typing. As long as they say, I want the preparation notes for Ashley James, or I want the preparation notes for this coaching session record, the Agentforce panel should be able to generate a response for the coach. So that's it so far. This is a lot of information I'm throwing at you. Remember, there's a very detailed blog post where I kind of explained how to do everything here in a tutorial format. And I have also given the full content here for my prompts that you can copy and paste into your own implementation in a code block. Just check the description of the video for the link. Enjoy.